Hockey, yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
It is Judd's Hockey Show. It's Judd, Jessi Pierce of Bardown, Beauties, and also covers the Wild for NHL.com. AJ Fredrickson, and ordinarily, you know, we go through a bunch of items on a day like this, talk about, in fact, I've got a whole list of things that I came up with last night for talkers. Guess what? Out the window. It was okay. It was okay. But we've got breaking news, which is why Jessi is at Tria Rink right now. Breaking news that's bad news. Kirill Kaprizov to undergo surgery, lower body injury, same thing that cost him 12 games. He came back for 3. Jessi, you were at the Bill Guerin press availability to talk about this. So take it away. What do we know about Kirill Kaprizov, the Wild's best player, an MVP candidate at one point, who now is sidelined?
Yeah, this was supposed to be just a nice, easy practice. I was going to talk some formations. I was like, okay, let's get in there. And then you get a very ominous text from Wild PR saying, hey, by the way, Bill Guerin's going to talk about Kirill at 11. It's like, oh, good thing I chose to come down to the rink today, do my job. Surgery is necessary for Bill Guerin. He would not commit to, or not for Bill Guerin, excuse me. Bill Guerin said about Kirill Kaprizov would not commit to when that would be happening, but it is happening. This injury is not season ending. It continues to be that lower body injury that sidelined him for the past month. They thought that they had been cautious enough, and he was at 60% these 3 games. John Hines had mentioned he was gutting it out on the bench. He was in pain. He was in agony. And 60% for Kirill Kaprizov, as Bill Guerin and Hines had said, is better than most players in the league. But 100% for Kirill Kaprizov is exactly what you need. So this is the route that they have to go. Again, not season ending for Kirill. The hope is he would be back before the regular season is over. Obviously, that's all up in the air depending on how he comes out of this thing. But Bill Guerin said the surgery is more of an invasive thing. That's why it's going to take a little bit longer to heal. He's saying a minimum of 4 weeks. Sounds like it might be more like 6, which would still put him on that trajectory to be back before the regular season's done. So it sucks. I think the Wilds handled this as best they could. I'm glad that they are, moving forward in this route, I guess, rather than wait and see and continue damage to be done and maybe make it a worse injury. But it is what it is. You're here. Luckily, they're on the road for the next 5, which we know is their bread and butter. And then you've got the 4 Nations break, which will help. It puts them in an interesting discussion for the salary cap and all of that with trade deadline and everything too. But the bottom line is Kirill Kaprizov, not season-ending surgery, but will be out for at least the next month.
Jessi, did Guerin mention about with the surgery, once he does come back, presumably healthy, is there any risk of, does this now create, similar to what we're seeing with Johansson with like the concussions, a risk of re-injury more easily than not?
They don't know. It'll be one of those kind of things you will find out once he gets back. I mean, and it depends on how the body heals, right? I don't believe that's a concern that they're having. I think that's why they are committing to the surgery itself, right? It tends to, when you go the surgery route, you're thinking that is going to be your fix. That is it. That's the best plan. But they don't know. They will not know until Kirill gets back out of it and gets back in his rehab.
So to backtrack now too, because it becomes at least a little bit more important. We don't know what transpired to cause this, correct? Like this goes back to, it supposedly, well, I think the day of the Utah game last Thursday when Kirill was going to come back, you guys asked him specifically, when did this happen? And he said, I don't want to talk about it. And then the Wild is saying lower body, but as the home of reckless speculation, this sounds like a groin or a hernia because like it's not a knee because he'd be done. So my fear here is what Age said, though, which is, okay, you can go in and try and fix it, but like these things are, as we just saw, 3 games, temperamental. What concerns me is this, and I actually, from the press box on Thursday, Jess, I was sleuthing a bit. And so I took a Kirill shift and I recorded it on my phone. And I sent it to Age, and I said, watch this shift. He is not for him making tight turns at all. He's going very circular, like he ordinarily makes a real tight turn because he skates violently. And yep, it's right there. It's against the Utah HC. Beautiful. And he makes very wide turns. That's him right
Yeah.
there, I believe. So
The edges are gone, right?
the edges are gone. But then as we got into Calgary on Saturday, which was just a stinker, and then Sunday, and I thought especially Sunday, he started to edge again. Like he was trying to make his turns. I think we're talking about a skating problem here. And I mean, he is a marvelous player, a marvelous skater. But I would say that what aggravated it was that, not like a hit, but the fact that for him to play, I mean, yes, at 60%, he can probably make real wide turns and pirouette and do some things, and he'll probably score some points. But if he's going to play Kaprizov hockey, my fear is there any chance in God's green earth that we're going to see that even if he comes back? Because if you go back to the Logan Stanley, which I still think was a problem, the Logan Stanley hit, he came back for the playoffs, right? But he was never the same. I have real fears here. I hate to say it, but I am very fearful.
That's the Judd way, though. If there were no fears from Judd, how would we get
It's
through
true.
the show?
Well, I told AJ, ask him, because he's like, well, he's just back. It's rust. And I said, AJ, you know what? You're probably right. But he was not playing the way that he can play, and it was very obvious.
No, and I agree with that, because I think everybody that was kind of monitoring or watching from above thought the same thing, right? Like, it's probably just getting back into that game situation, right? It's getting to that conditioning. Knowing Kirill's been working off the ice so hard, and he's getting there, and they've been so careful with this. But I think, in speaking with even Wes Walls today, we both agreed you didn't see those flashes of brilliance that Kirill is used to. So that was kind of your tell, I think. It wasn't necessarily, it appeared to be more than just a lack of conditioning stint, right? Or it appeared to be that. And it's too bad. I am choosing the positive route, Judd. I'm going to counter. He'll be fine. We'll get the surgery, come back. It'll be fine.
I tried to be positive and I was wrong.
Brilliant.
I should have doubled down. I should have said that there is something still wrong. And I tried to say, oh, it's rust age, but I'm sorry. He's so skilled and so good that to me, like, it's not like Foligno comes back and it's like, okay, go check some guys. If you're hurt, you're hurt. Like, this guy needs to be like, he plays in my opinion, within his game, he plays a very violent game when it comes to his body.
Right. And and that question was broached numerous times. Is he healthy? Is he going to be 100%? Is this going to be good? And they thought he was. I truly do believe that wasn't them just kind of keeping us. I think from Kirill on up, everybody thought, yep, we are good to go with this. This is going to be fine. And they were trying to avoid this route at all possible costs. But I think it's one of those things you weren't going to find out until you were in that game-like situation. You had to eventually get out there and see what was what. And unfortunately for Kirill, it wasn't there. And I can only imagine, I think what's even more frustrating, beyond the fact that this is happening to your best player, the man had a heart season going for him, right? Yeah. Like, I think and I know Kirill is one of the first people to tell you he doesn't care about that. And I truly believe that, but it still is like, man, like, you had this season, and you're right. If there is any lingering effects after this, is he going to have that opportunity again? I don't know. And again, it's one we don't know, right? Like, we'll wait and see. But the speculation, people don't watch podcasts about wait and see, I suppose. So yeah, I understand the speculation.
Give a hot take, Pierce. Give a hot take. That's all we want here.
It's going to be great. Yeah.
I'm going to be curious to, after this, at least watch like the habits of him, because what Judd was just talking about with how he was playing and, wider turns, but then it's like, well, maybe it was 60% and now he's it's flaring up more so because he's skating and he is used to playing a certain way. So he's pushing his body where now, he's in pain more. When he comes back, how is that adjustment going to be? After the Logan Stanley injury against Winnipeg a couple of years ago, I mean, you could tell like he had to change how he was doing things. And like in the video that Judd sent me, just amazing camera work from up in
just beautiful.
It was like the Zapruder film.
Wow.
The fact it's there is what's so impressive.
But what my initial notice was, it seemed like it was a lot of like hips down. His torso is always towards the puck and everything else is swiveling. Then after, in the video, what you saw was like the whole body is turning with every single motion. It's his head that's staying focused on the play. It's going to be interesting to watch. Like, I just don't want this to be a lingering thing that, I mean, it would be the most Minnesota Wild thing ever. It feels like you finally hit on this guy and you waited for so long and now he's finally here. And boy, does he look like this franchise player, the superstar that the franchise has never had. And you get a small taste. And now, hey, he's going to be limited because of this injury that just won't go away because some guy who's got the same name as like a moving company who had a cup of coffee with the Jets fell on him like the big lug he is, and that just altered the course of the Wild's franchise.
I wouldn't even worry about an extension then at this point, right? This summer, we don't even need to worry about it.
There's the hot take.
That's good, but like this is going to, in some way, shape, or form, this impacts things. I guarantee it, right? Like it might help the Wild, it might hurt them. I don't know. Yeah. So what are our expectations now? So like this team has been struggling of late. They beat a JV team barely in Chicago on Sunday. I mean, for 2 periods, the Blackhawks
Chicago
had 5
had points in their past 4. Just so you know, they're a team, man.
They are a team. They're something. But they've been brutal.
Like by definition, they are a team. They have enough players.
Yes they do.
They are a team. Yeah.
So they've been. The Wild's been brutal at home of late. We know that they've not been great of late. Period. So Jessi, start with you. Like with Kirill out now for an extended period, and we do have the 2-week break coming up in February for the 4 nations. But what is the expectation now? Because I mean, you've taken an absolutely key part of your team out, and the Wild did go 7-5 of the 12 games without Kaprizov. But to me, minus Kaprizov is not a formula for success.
No, I mean, and Bill Guerin, he talked on that today too, and I don't think he meant it in this way that I am now perceiving it or breaking it down as. But he said we need to stay where we are, right? Like they need to figure out a way to continue to be good on the road. If you can't figure it out at home, whatever, but get all of those road points without question. And I think they need to. John Hines has been really good at hammering home. We saw in that post-game conference with him after the Calgary game. This team needs to get back to playing simple hockey, and plain and simple as that may be, right? I had asked Hines today about how do you avoid some of that east to west hockey, because that seems to be their biggest problem is all of a sudden they transform into this very east-west team, and that's not who they are. They are going to be successful when they're playing that north to south game. And Hines acknowledged, that is a big part of the detail that they're stressing. And sometimes the game tends to lend itself to pull you into that type of style, which is okay here and there, but you need to start crashing into that. So my biggest thing is step up Matt Boldy. Let's have him up to the podium.
Amen.
Let's see what he can do, right? I mean, it's kind of been very underwhelming for him as of late, and we've seen this in his career. It's a lot of peaks and valleys sometimes with him, but I need to see a lot more of Matt Boldy. I think you're going to see him, Joel Eriksson Ek, and Matt Zuccarello on that top line. So that top line needs to be buttoned up absolutely superb. And then you need to see Marco Rossi continue to pull out what he can, whether that's Liam Ogren on his left or Marcus Foligno on his left. You need to see those guys continue to do it. Marcus Johansson, Jonas Berdien will not be on this upcoming road trip, so you're without them. Again, get the points, get in there, get dirty, and get back to playing that hard-nosed hockey. You're wearing that chain that hard. And as the motivational John Hines said the other night, choose your hard. Choose your hard.
And we're choosing to lose.
Hard chain. Yeah.
Like he said, right now, you're choosing to lose. That was an indictment. I love that quote.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good one. We liked it. But yeah, you got to have guys step up. Again, you were without Kirill. You did fine. You navigated the waters. You're going to have to do it again. And nobody's going to feel bad for the Wild about it. It is interesting. I'm curious to see how they navigate the salary cap and how they navigate then the recalls, because you have basically 2 options. And I asked Bill Guerin, how does this change your trade deadline approach too, if you're no longer going to have a Kirill? And, Guerin acknowledged he doesn't know what the numbers look like. If you put Kirill on LTIR, you are no longer accruing the salary cap that you need in order to go get a player. However, if you don't put him on LTIR, you can't afford to get the recalls that you need. So it's a tough situation. Do you eat the $9 million with Kirill, and what does that look like? So you got to have the guys that are here put it together, get the W's, and play some hard hockey.
Mm-hmm.
How open would you two be if he does go on that LTIR and all of a sudden you get, how often have we seen this in the past decade, whether it be the Blackhawks or the Tampa Bay Lightning or Mark Stone with the Vegas Golden Knights, where it's all of a sudden you have all of that extra cap space for a team that has been so cap strapped over the last 4, 5, 6 years, where if that does happen they have this surplus of cap to go get somebody. Are you open to them moving what seems to be almost, I mean, you don't have a first rounder in the upcoming 25 draft. You have the first rounders of 26 and 27. You also have second rounders this year and next year. But like on your roster, you'd have to assume somebody else probably gets moved. And now and this is just me speculating here, with the surplus that has seemingly come out of nowhere in the defensive side of things, does somebody there get moved? Probably a Declan Chisholm of sorts, with his expiring contract, the guy that got picked up on waivers, who was a healthy scratch the other night for whatever reason when John Merrill and Zach Bogosian are still on the ice. I don't know. What are your?
I will not
sorry,
stand
that's
for
just my 2 cents. That's just my 2 cents.
Declan Chisholm was just as much of the problem as those two are. I will not stand for just the John Merrill slander this year. Merrill's really fallen back too, but Declan Chisholm, I could think of 4 goals in 2 games that were completely his fault.
And Yakov Trenin got scratched, so you know what, John Hines, come on down. You're my you are my coach of the year, Jack Adams.
Yeah.
So so Jess, to AJ's point, because you actually asked the question, and Guerin was it was like he hadn't thought a ton about it, but then he was very intrigued. And I wrote down the exact quote here. He said, "We will do what we're able to do with the cap space that we have in regards to the deadline," which to me left the door wide open for a trade. So what's your forecast? And just to throw a possible name in, if they are intent on trying to make a run, could Ogren be moved for a current player who brings more right now? I'm not advocating that. I'm just asking as a name.
I mean, yeah, you look at any possible. Do you want me to say it again? Do you want me to say the other player that has that eligibility? I'll say it.
Well,
I'll say it. I'll do it.
Go ahead and say it, but like
you be ready for this to get clipped.
Number 23.
But he's important.
But you have he's
important, right?
You do. But I'm just saying, if you are dead set on getting your Brock Nelson, if you are dead set on getting your Elias Pettersson, I don't know, right? Like if you don't have the money to get these guys, so you have to take the players that are available. And actually, I just said that because I like to stir the pot. I don't really believe that they will move number 23 at this point. Liam Ogren, maybe, but they will not move.
They might in July from what you've told me, but yeah, probably not at the deadline.
But again, and the only reason I continue to have his name even in my mouth is because he doesn't have the protection, and you have teams that are willing to take that, and that's what you're going to have to. When you are as cash strapped as the Wild are, those are your assets. They don't even really have that many picks that they're going to be able to give up courtesy of the David Jiricek trade, right? So you have to look at these players that you can move, and those are the guys. So yeah, I think you're right. Bill Guerin, the way he responded to that question, because I asked it because I started thinking, like, how does this change what your needs are?
You dominated the press conference. Let's not mince words. Like the last 2 press conferences, it's been the Jesse Pierce show.
Well, we love when Michael Russo can't make it to a conference because then I get to speak.
John Hines, she got Hines going. It was like a wind-up to it was incredible.
It's kind of fun. I just wanted the answers.
I tell you enjoyed it.
I want the truth. But yeah, I hope that can't handle the truth. We really can't. But I do hope that it means something more. But again, the money is going to be tough. It's tough to work out anything that makes a lot of sense.
You know, we talked about this, I think, 2 shows ago, and I'll say it again. I don't know I make a trade. How far are you? Like Kaprizov is going to be impacted, in my opinion, for the rest of the season. I don't know. Like, you've got a really good farm system, prospect-wise. You've got seemingly a bright future. The cap constraints go away. I don't know I make a trade, you guys. Like I hate to say it because the start was so good, but does Brock Nelson being brought in at a price that's more than just signing him on July 1st, does that like put you into the 2nd or 3rd round? I don't know there. Like, I know Billy doesn't like to deal in patience, but I think that this might be a case where you swallow hard and say, we're not going to give up something for a short-term fix that might win us a round. I don't know it's worth it, you guys. I just don't. And that's coming from me. I never say that.
This reminds me of a gentleman named Herb Brooks. And if we all remember the Miracle on Ice, when he brings in Timmy Haar just to stir the pot. And Jimmy Craig says he'll do whatever it takes. That's Bill Guerin to me. He'll do whatever it takes to win, and that's trade
Who's
deadline.
Who's going to take
busy.
the test? Who's going to take his test?
He wants the guys that aren't going to take the test, though,
Timmy
too.
Hart, great golfer.
Yeah.
Great. I'm just having a great year with the Gophers. Yeah.
I'm just telling you right now that with the injuries that this team has suffered, and with Kaprizov out now, I don't know that it's worth giving up. There's a lot of, to your point, Jess, there's a lot of gymnastics here as far as the cap goes, as far as who you can bring in. I don't know it's worth it.
I think you do that, though. I believe that then you become complacent, and that means that you don't believe this team can make a run. You don't do anything and you sit bat. You're saying kind of vocally that this team, and I don't disagree, but I don't think Bill Guerin wants that narrative and perception out there. So I think that's also what forces his hand a little bit. Maybe is that ego gets there and he's like, no, I don't want people to assume. That's him, right?
No, you're right.
I agree, but I do think that's the other piece that comes into play. Is it the smart move? Maybe not. Because is this team enough for a deep run? Probably not. I just don't think Bill Guerin wants to admit that. And if you sit pat by deadline, it kind of says that. Although you can use the salary cap as kind of your excuse to not do much too.
AJ, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I get that, because there is like that politics, but I'll go back to what the 5-year plan talk was at the beginning of the season, where Leopold, I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, but he said there's really there is no seat that is hot for Bill Guerin. Like they have a discussion, they have a plan in place where it's just like, we know what our plan is. And obviously I think with this hot start that they had at the beginning of the season, it does probably change a few things. But at the end of the day, and this is something I know, Judd, you've talked about a couple times on this show, which is, does that hot start warrant blowing up the plan? And in this case now, with a major injury to your major player, your biggest, most influential player, does that warrant, wiping everything clean and saying, you know what, nope, this is the year that we're now pushing in? It doesn't matter that we had this Christmas list for July coming up in the off season. Do we want to now move some of these prospects that we've collected over the years, trading for, drafting? Is that now the time to cash in these chips? I just don't think it is. I think that if he's going to add, I still believe it's going to be somebody in the realm of, maybe a middle six guy with upside to some scoring. I just don't see a big splash, and that I think covers the base what Jesse's saying with he wants to show, at least to the room, that like, I believe that you guys can be this team that can make a run, while also not leveraging the future on this hot start and now an injury to your superstar. I don't know about you guys, but I am kind of sick of the just upper body, lower body, because I would like to know what exactly this is.
Yeah, if it's surgery, I'm not quite sure. That's a very good point. Like everyone that wants to know.
I want the time and the date that he's getting surgery, like the Timberwolves
I want the
did
doctor.
Last week, 2 weeks ago.
I want to know what the doctor had for lunch that day. Who
is the doctor? And
that's
plus,
the thing.
Plus, this guy went to see specialists. Mm-hmm. That's where you can't tell me on January 3rd it's a minor thing. And then a report comes out that he's flying around the country to see specialists, which screams groin hernia type of thing. Because if it's a knee, you don't see specialist.
Because Eichel had, I know this was, Eichel had the herniated disc, in his neck back in 22, and he had surgery for that. And since then,
Eichel is shining example. He's doing great. He's fine.
Exactly.
He's fine, Judd. He's fine.
Of course, he bounced to a new team, but that's beside the point. We won't bring that up.
Helps.
All this hockey talk is making the sports dad hungry, and there's only one place for the sports dad to go. That is Parlor Bar, a perfect spot to stop before Wild games on West 7th Street in St. Paul, right down the street, of course, from the X. Open 4 to 10 p.m. Monday and Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday. A fantastic brunch. Lunch served 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Wednesday through Friday. And also, on game day, special game day menu available 3 hours before face-off, an ideal spot to stop pregame. It's a place that I've been a few times. Dawn and I stopped there. I'm going to tell you right now, the Parlor Bar are fantastic. The burger is fantastic. The chicken sandwich, though, also is absolutely great. So check them out. Parlor Bar, West 7th in St. Paul. Jessi, tell us about your friends at Swing Lab.
Guys, golf season is around the corner. We cannot wait. But in the meantime, in the interim, I'm hitting Swing Lab Performance Center out in Lakeville. They've got junior clubs, they've got club fittings going on. Lots of great stuff. You can gather your friends there for some simulators, play some games. Look at that horrendous swing. But you know what? It's getting better. I can't wait for the updated video of this. You guys, let me tell you, Swing Lab Performance Center, all of your golfing needs for the off season and during the season as well. Don't forget to get out to Swing Lab Performance Golf in Lakeville. Let them know Judd's Hockey Show sent you on down.
Absolutely. And I am no one to pass judgment on your swing, so I will say that's a perfect swing as far as I'm concerned and support you. Okay, a couple more things to get to. Let's get to the home road splits here on the record. Because, so a week ago, Saturday, the Wild goes in to Nashville. I think they lose 6-2 and they played a complete clunker. Okay, that's a road game. It was a terrible game. But then they come back on Monday and they beat the Avalanche in Colorado in what I thought was an incredible game. Like, that was not a fluke. They played well. I think it was 1-1 going into the third period. They get two early goals, including one by Trennan, since benched. And they played great. So then you come home for Thursday, Saturday split against Utah and Calgary. Calgary, by the way, on Hockey Day in Minnesota. And just to put this into context, yes, it's made up completely, but the Wild going in, so Hockey Day started in 2007, took a break in 2020 because of COVID. The Wild, though, went into that game, I think, 14-3-1 on Hockey Day. They had not lost on Hockey Day since 2016, which by my research is the only time that they have actually played an away game in St. Louis. Yes.
Didn't they lose last year? I'm almost positive they lost last year to Anaheim. Anaheim came back.
Yeah, because Lucas Dostal, like,
played
forget
out of his mind.
Forget what I'm saying. Yeah. What is the problem on Hockey Day? What has gone wrong here? No, but the point is, John Hines going absolutely ape bleep, which I thought was great post game. Forget my mistake. The Wild's mistake was not showing up for 2 consecutive games. And Jessi, you asked a bunch of questions, but I mean, that is as unhappy easily as I have seen Hines, and he had every right to be ticked off.
I think people didn't know I was annoying. I'm super annoying. The reason I'm a reporter is because I just love asking questions. My mom yells at me all the time. She's like, stop asking somebody questions. I'm like, I'm just nosy.
They're good questions.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the narrative of home versus away, they can't ignore. And John Hines said it's probably a little blown out of proportion because certainly it's not like they're playing cupcakes at home. And I will give them that. And some of the games have been closer at home than the score might indicate, which give them some grace there. But yeah, you look at the absolute atrocity that was defense in those 2 games at home against Utah and Calgary. I thought that was a huge problem, even more of a problem when you have Philip Gustafsson not playing the puck like we've seen him play. He's taken a step back. Then you're not generating the offensive opportunities because guys aren't willing to go to the grimy areas like they were. I mean, Hines, that was as emotional as I've seen him get ever, right? Which we've always kind of lauded him for. He's never too elated, never too down. And I think that worked for him. But yes, you could see the frustration because they know what they need to do. They're just not doing it. And, you know, short of calling them lazy, they've been playing lazy hockey. And that's just what it comes to, bottom line. And for whatever reason, their mindset switches off from that and they play hard. They play the way they can on the road. They need to put that here. And Bill Guerin even kind of mentioned it in his conversation with us today, saying our arena is hard to play in. It's a great place to play. I have no idea why they can't do that night in and night out here at home. And so he said that's kind of the priority that they are trying to correct as well, is just figuring out how to start winning at home. Because like I mentioned, a road playoff sounds a lot better at this point than any home playoff series. Let's be honest.
But it's so sad. And
super sad.
You're right. Like the word lazy, the East-West thing. Like, it's not as if they are working their ass off and it's bad luck. It's I don't think I've ever seen a hockey team be this good away from home, which is why that they are still third in the Central Division. And this apathetic, I mean, they are a legit 11-12-1 at the X. Yeah. Below 500 legitimately, and they're really 11-12-1 is really 11-13. So, like, Age, this is remarkable. In the Calgary game, I thought that Age was in the press box as well for was absolutely an embarrassment. Forget those 2 late goals; they meant nothing. The Wild did not show up until the end, which was what the old teams did and what this team seemed to be past.
Yeah, I mean, and especially for that Calgary game, they had 12 shots through the first 40 minutes of play. Like, that's not a great recipe for success. For a team that I think earlier in the season, you saw they were trying to just get the puck, funnel it to the middle, and put it on net. Guess what? If we can't get it to the middle, our defense, and I'll say credit to them because Jake Middleton has had one heck of a season. Brock Faber's probably improved offensively as well when they've been in the lineups. Jared Spurgeon, Jonas Brodin have also contributed offensively. Like, just shoot the puck. And I think that is coming from John Hines' presser after the loss on Hockey Day, which was they need to shoot the puck more. And I don't know what the discussion has been or what led to, like, you're down 2 or 3 goals and we are trying to be so cutesy. Like, we're talking Don Lucia Golden Goal for Hockey, where we're ditzing and doodling all around the ice and tic-tac-toe. But then it's like, you're not the Harlem Globetrotters. Just put the puck on net because you're not facing Patrick Wall. You're not facing, Mika Kiplersoff in his prime. This is Dustin Wolf and Karim Vejmelka. Like, these are not Vezina Trophy winners. These are not, and granted, Dustin Wolf is having a very good season. I do want to say
I was going to say it. Dustin Wolf is playing very well. I love my American goalies.
Yeah, he's a Calder candidate, man.
But it's not like he's a 10-year veteran that's at the top of the league. Like, just put the puck on net. Same thing that we saw them do against Mrazek this past weekend. Because that was was that Sunday night? Sunday night. They were dominating that game. And granted, it sure is a team, but it's not a real professional team. They let them get back into it. Like, they take their foot off the gas pedal because through 5 shots in the first 40 minutes for Chicago, they then put 15 on in the third period because the Wild kind of went away from their game and they stopped pushing them out wide and they just let them waltz in the zone. And this is a thing that Judd has been in my ear about all season long. The zone entry for the opposition is just too easy. They buy a house in a neighborhood and they say, you know what? Come on in, everybody. We don't even need to door into the hinges. There's no need for a lock. There's no security system.
They don't lock the doors.
There's a screen door there, but even that screen is like busted and you can just slip on through. There's no reason to have any lock on the Wild's door. And that door is just the defensive zone for them. It's ridiculous how easy that has been. Shoot the puck is the biggest thing. And I know that's so cliche because when you look at like the typical cliche things, it's like get pucks deep, get pucks on net, cycle, blah, blah, blah. That's really just all you have to do. This team has had a lot of success when they eclipse that 30 shot on goal mark in games, especially on the road. Why are they not just shooting the puck? You don't need the extra pass sometimes. Sometimes the best pass is a shot on goal that results in a juicy rebound. It doesn't matter how pretty it is as long as it gets over that thin red line.
Larger concern, though, even if they were to shoot that and the rebound comes out, they don't have anybody crashing the net to go get those rebounds as of late. That's incredibly frustrating to watch. Joel Eriksson is the only body that I am seeing down there. And we applauded Matt Boldy for getting more physical this year. That was when they were winning games is because Matt Boldy was willing to get into those areas too. They have just gone so far away from some of those areas that are quote unquote hard. Like, let's go. Like, figure it out. It's embarrassing. I mean, your goalie gets popped in the face. Might have deserved it. I'm sure Marc-Andre Fleury says some things, but also you don't have anybody coming in and getting physical back. Like, what is this? It's silly.
Speaking of the Flower, future Hall of Fame goaltender, that dovetails perfectly to allow me, you guys, Sports Dad, to talk about my friends at Popcorn, the best locally popped fresh popcorn and fudge on the planet. For a small time here, Kirill Kaprizov and Marc-Andre Fleury 1-gallon popcorn tins that you see right there are available. Enjoy your favorite popcorn products in these tins for only $26. Get a refill on standard flavors for only $8. You can also win Wild Sweet tickets to the March 13th game against the Rangers. Come into the store in Minnetonka, scan the QR code, or if you're outside the metro, just go to popcorn.com/pages/mn-wild. That's popcorn.com/pages/mn-wild. Wild Popcorn has your favorite sports teams tins as well as over 80 flavors by the bag. And again, The Kaprizov and Fleury tins are only going to be available till supplies run out. So get those. Go to popcorn.com. That's POPPED corn.com, or give them a call. Their Minnetonka store, 952-452-8808. The Hines quote to what Jessi just said on Saturday that I found to be intriguing, and I think Guerin also talked about this on Sunday, was the whole Fleury thing. So there's a scrum around the net, and Rasmus Anderson, who was full of you know what on Saturday for Calgary, he's involved, and Fleury sort of grabs him, and he did grab him. And then Rasmus turns around and punches the mask of Fleury, and Rossi and Zuccarello grab Rasmus and sort of wrestle him down. But post-game, there seemed to be this whole thing of, well, we didn't like go out there and then fight him. And it also didn't help that Rasmus came out of the penalty box and scored almost immediately. But the point being is just, what do you think? Was that a shot at Foligno? Like what was that? Because they did grab him. It's not like he punched him and skated away. He punched him and got grabbed by two smaller guys. But what do you think that was about? Because they definitely were not happy that somebody didn't fight him. And that list is what? Foligno, Lauko, maybe, but
Trennan.
I mean, probably Marcus or Trennan, yeah, who got scratched then in the game in Chicago on Sunday. That's a good point too.
I feel like it was probably toward a Trennan situation. I mean, and Marcus Foligno addressed it after Chicago as well, saying, you do have to be smart about those things, because you do not want to get into the Nashville situation. The Nashville situation being they were so pent up and hung up on revenge that they just got physical and didn't care about what that meant for the team. So I think they're probably still licking their wounds from having done that and the showing they had in Nashville to trying to figure out, okay, how do we play this? And Marc-Andre Fleury didn't seem bothered by any of it, not only the lack of response, but even just getting a little, glove to the mask anyway. It didn't seem to faze him once whatsoever. I think for Hines, it was just all of this built up frustration. I don't think it was necessarily, we're looking for the code, we got to enact that, we got to have somebody fighting for that. I think he was, why are you guys not bleeping doing anything physical at this point? It's from every single layer and level of this hockey game. They lack physicality. They don't want to be hit. They don't want to be physical. And again, it's something that you saw them doing. They were not winning because they were a good, highly elite skilled team. They were winning because they were shutting down the opposition's offense. They were generating their offense down low in the gritty areas. I mean, it was a hard team, if you will. God, I hate that chain. But nonetheless, it just...
You don't like the chain?
I think that's what it was. I don't like the chain.
Why?
I don't like it. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan.
Why?
I don't know. I just think it's too childish.
It looks like something I
know.
could go and get like supplies for at like Michael's craft store.
Like a Pee-wee team.
That's what they did.
I think.
That's exactly what
Hartman
Hartman did, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like,
I hate it.
yeah, no, the story is that after Guerin said before the season started, told the team that you have to choose your hard, Hartman went to the hardware store, bought all this stuff, and made that chain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as the post game stuff goes, there's been worse. Like, there's been some really stupid
I always
things.
like the silly helmets. I think the helmets are kind of fun. I don't know. To me, I don't think of like a hard team as the Minnesota Wild generally. Even when they're playing a little bit tougher than they are. It's kind of like the grit first. I hated that. And I just...
Oh, yeah, grit. Yeah. Well, that was a marketing slogan, though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's all the same.
Our ice was one. I hated that. Like, let's dump some... Let's pretend that this is from, Tonka Bay, and we'll dump this on the ice. Minnetonka, whatever. Yeah, I thought that was...
You know what?
The marketing
Maybe
stuff drives me...
I don't like. Maybe if they brought back the dirty pond water of our ice, they'd be winning at home again. I'm just saying, there's probably a correlation.
That's why they're struggling. Other teams have been able to get in and get their own water into foreign soil here, and now it's like...
Or larger problem, they are not having morning skates at XL Energy Center. I know some of us would really like to go back to that lifestyle. Do we think this is a problem? I don't know. I was really hoping that could be, so they would have to change. And
this is why we want improvements, though.
They lost and they did it too.
This is why we want the city of St. Paul or someone to help us, because there's a lot of things lacking as far as like team, facilities and things like that. That's why they want improvements, so they can win at home. This is all carefully constructed on purpose to lose as much as possible at home until the taxpayers, that's you people, come up with what they want, and then they'll start to win again.
I just relocate them. I'm done.
Oh boy.
Just
Anyways,
I can't believe
moving
you
on.
said-
I'm
that's
still
the
hung up on this.
That's the Timberwolves.
Quick going back to the hard chain. If you want to do something like hard related, how about a hard hat? Like the hats are so easy. You throw it in a bag or whatever. You could decorate that. You could spruce it up, but just like the chain, it just looks so child. It looks like a prop in a high school play. It looks very low budget.
yeah.
It looks like that, and maybe that's what they were going for, but I don't know. I feel like there's got to be something better.
The chain was, in fact, I think for the trip to play the Predators and Avs, they forgot the chain.
Did they forget it or they lose it? I
think they forgot it. I think they found it again.
That's how much it doesn't matter. If you're forgetting it at home, it's not that important.
It's got to be a pain in the ass to travel with, though. Like that's a big ass chain. Like that's a big chain. That's a big chain. Last thing, among the people or the players that need to do more, I think we talked about this briefly. We saw a direct example of this on Sunday. Trennan was scratched, which, by the way, he's got a 4-year contract, and John Hines likes him. And Ryan Hartman again demoted to the 4th line. So I think it's very clear, and it's going to drive me crazy. Wednesday night, Toronto, right? Wednesday night, Toronto, Trennan's going to come out and play like a ball of fire. You know he is. And it's going to piss me off more than when he's not, because it's going to be a complete indictment on how much he dogs it. But the Hartman move too. So like, I think those are two guys to keep a close eye on, at least, because they clearly are driving Hines crazy. And I get it, including the Hartman penalty on Saturday. I think against Calgary, it was another one where he's trying to break away. He's at like the Flames blue line and he hauls a guy down. And it's like, what are you doing? So I think that those two are important, but I'm glad to see that the patience with Trennan finally has run super thin, because I was tired of him, trying hard for 3 games and then thinking like he's skilled. It's like, dude, you're not skilled.
I just love that every single Buttes live show that we get to have at Tom Reed's tomorrow at 5 p.m. I get to just bag on Trennan the whole time, because there's always reason to. Like, yep, see, this is what I'm talking about. But you're right, because when I do, he goes and has like the game of his lifetime that game. So he's
going to work hard. I guarantee you, against the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens.
Hey, work hard, just work. Like, do something.
Well, yeah.
Do something.
But he'll go and stir stuff up. It drives me crazy. And these are the guys that I can't stand, because like your one thing is work. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, like, guys watch you and they're like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, this goes back to the Ryan Hartman quote at the end of last season when he said, I would have loved to play against us. And Jessi, to your point, that's how they started the season, was being the antithesis of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
get your act together, because you've lost a skilled player. Ain't nothing about this team now skilled. It's all about hard work, which goes back to the hard chain.
Put your helmet on.
I think we should have a hard chain on this show.
I'm here for
huge.
That. Yeah.
No. After my huge hockey day miscue, I would not get the chain. I'd probably be benched for the next show.
I'm so sorry to call you out publicly, but I was like, that's wrong. That's
no. Are you kidding? No.
Inaccurate.
I would have called you out. No, if you're wrong, you're wrong. And
this is true. This is true. You had that coming. That is.
Yeah, no, quite. Don't feel bad. See, that's your problem. Yeah. You ask tough questions, but then you feel bad about it. You can't feel bad about it. You should be very happy.
I don't think they're tough until you remind me. I don't think they're tough at all. I think they're just normal questions. Good. I think I just want to know the answers to.
They're good questions.
And you know what you do? You ask it with a smile. Like, hey, so what are you going to do now that you have no good, talented players on this team, Billy? Like, what do you think?
The Billy trade question got some things snapping. That's all I'll say about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, yeah, it might change everything. I'm going to trade half my guy. Rossi, Algren, come on down.
Assistant to the assistant. I have given myself that title for a reason. Bill knows it. He hasn't paid me yet, but he will. He'll sign me that assistant contract eventually.
I'm sure that checks in the mail, so.
Thanks, Costanza.
It's somewhere.
Thanks, Costanza. All right, you guys, we're done. Jessi, AJ, Judd's Hockey Show back soon, hopefully with better news.